Welcome to another show, or should I say, another recording of the Relationship Rehab. What I wanted to do, like I said before, I want to try to start doing some different things. So this topic has been on my mind or my spirit or whatever for quite some time now. So I want to go ahead and do this. Um, and basically, what I'm going to be talking about is racism. With everything that's going on in our country today, it seems as though everything has become racist. Everything has become racist. Everybody is a racist. If you don't agree with me, you're a racist. If you support this, you're a racist. If you don't support this, then you're a racist. So I wanted to come and address the whole racism, blameism, victimism, or victimhood, whatever the case may be. I wanted to do this video to help, I guess, try to create some boundaries in which we call or use this word, because I believe now that this word is being used just a little too uh, um, easily. It's just being thrown around. It's like more of a hot topic or a buzzword than it is an actual thing that is being called out for a particular reason. So, with that being said, I wanted to just basically go over like the five W's and the one H, if you will, the who, what, when, where, and why of racism. All right. And hopefully by the end of this video that we'll have, or people will be able to draw some conclusions, maybe create a conversation if need be, even do a live show about this, or we can just have some better concrete concrete or structure to what it is we're talking about when we talk about racism, so we're not just throwing it around as loosely as we are today. So with that being said, one of the first things that I wanted to go at and talk about was the very definition of racism. So we always use this word just by saying, because you white, you racist. If you are black, people can't be racist, and all of those things. So with the just the definition of it, I mean, I'm talking Merriam-Webster's definition of the word racism. And what I was able to find was the dictionary definition is, according to dictionaries, basically what it says is the word commonly used is to describe prejudice, discrimination based on race. Okay. Racism can also be said to describe a condition in society in which a dominant racial group benefits from the oppression of others, whether that group wants such benefits or not. Okay. When we talking about racism, there are different definitions that go along with that. And one of those are a belief that a race is fundamentally determinant of human rights and capacities, that racial differences produce an inherent superiority of a particular race to also behavior or attitudes that reflect and foster this belief. I really like that one. Racial discrimination or prejudice. So basically, it's saying, let me read that again. Also, behavior or attitudes that reflect and foster this belief, racial discrimination or prejudice. Three, the systemic oppression of a racial group to the social, economic, and political advantage of another. Very important definition as well. Four, a political or social system founded on racism and designed to execute its principles. And you can take bits and pieces of each one of those definitions and you can try to use it to, whatever narrative it fits for you for what you're talking about. And that's kind of like what we do today. We take the bits and pieces of it. So you'll hear people say, oh, it's systemic racism. Or you'll hear people use just racism in different ways and different formats. So I want to kind of like put that out there as just like the clear line definitions. What my definition of racism has been, just from what I've learned from my African American studies and all that kind of good stuff that I've had through school, education, all that, and just life experience. Essentially, racism is a system. It is a system. It is a construct. It is a specific system designed to discriminate a group of people, or the majority of a group of people, solely based on their race. There's only what, five races? Five. Yes. You have white, you have African American, Asian, Native American, and Hispanic or Latino, right? So you have five races. So whatever this system is in place that oppresses or discriminates against a particular group or one of those 5 groups based on that, or the majority of that group. That's what it is. That's what racism is, in my opinion. If there is a system in place, if you are a racist, then that means that you are in control, or you are a core, one of the main cogs in that system. That means you are responsible for implementing it, running it, getting it going, designing it. Then you are considered a racist. Okay? So there has to be a system in order for there to be racism. And then in order for you to be a racist, then that means that you are a part of this system that is in control of that system. I'm controlling it, I'm running it, I designed it, I created it, all that good stuff. So, i.e., let's give an example. Jim Crow, whether people have said he don't exist, people said he does exist, whatever. Jim Crow would be a racist. Okay? That's what a racist would be. You talking about a racist, Jim Crow would be that. He is a person who is in charge of designing a system. He put a system in place. He was the architect for a system to oppress another group of people solely based on their race. There it is. Okay. So one of the big things that we have in what we're talking about today, when you hear society saying, well, this or that or whatever about race, one of the things that come up quite often is, does racism even exist? And the thing now, or the thing that a lot of people on the right tend to say is, no, it doesn't exist. That's not necessarily true. Actually, it's just not true. There is racism that exists today. However, when you're talking about it existing, to what degree is the question? Is there racism in effect today? Is there a racist person, or is there a racist system that is in effect today that is actually affecting the greater majority of a race ability to progress, to achieve certain things, to have certain things, to go after certain things? And that's where I beg to differ, and I say no to that. So I don't think that there is a system that is in place today that is keeping a race of people, black folks, Asian, Hispanic, white, or whatever, keeping them from achieving progress, keeping them from doing the things that they would want to do. Not in this country. I don't see that. So like when you're talking about apartheid, you legally couldn't do things because of your race. That is what you call racism, active racism. That's one of the things that you would say would be, okay, yeah, there's racism there. Because there's a group of people that are being discriminated upon solely because of their race. Okay? So now let's get into the 5 W's. Who is a racist? First one, who, right? Who, what, when, where, and why? Yep, that's what I got there. Who is a racist? Thing is, anyone can be a racist, because we can all discriminate to some degree against one another. Based on the power we have will determine how much we can actually do to that other group, but we can discriminate and be racist against other groups based on the color of their skin. Just like how we do just like there are white people that don't like black people just because they black. There are black people that don't like white people just because they're white. Now people can say, well, that's because of what the 400 years of oppression and stuff has done. Regardless, if I don't like you just because you're a white person, and we all got them uncles, we all got them homies, we all got them pro-black hotep brothers that we know that are just flat out racist. I don't like the white man. And we have white people that I don't like black people. I don't like them. I don't want to be around them. I don't want to talk to them. I don't want to see them. I don't want them on my porch. I don't want them on my grass because they got salt in their feet and it burns up my grass. You got them kind of people that just don't like white people. And you got those kind of people that just don't like black people. Here's the thing to that. To what degree is that? How can, and furthermore, well, I'll get to that at the end, but to what degree are those people that feel that way on both sides? And let me not forget and leave out the Latinos and the Asians, because they feel the same way. I've seen plenty of videos actually just during the riots. There were plenty of videos where there were Hispanic people that were keeping black folks, shooting at them, shooting them, damaging their vehicles, chasing them with bats, chasing them with guns, chasing them with knives, keeping them out of their neighborhoods because they didn't want them to loot. And they were literally saying all black folks, or using the N-word, which I'm trying not to use in this video, go home, get out of here. We don't want you here. And these people now weren't coming to loot. These were people that were going to work. And it just so happened that they worked in an area that was majority Hispanic. That is textbook racist. Racism. You're using force. You're using weapons to keep a certain group of people out, even though they're just coming there to work their job. You're keeping them out based on the color of their skin. So it is what it is. And that's why I said just that. Anybody can be racist. Anybody can discriminate against another group of people based on the color of their skin. How well you can do it and to what degree, that's all determined on how much power you have. Secondly, what is racist? And I put here, it would have to be anything that discriminates against the majority of a group of people solely based on their race. And if we wanted to identify a system that was that, it would be, hey, look at Jim Crow, colored only, white only. That's racism. When you're talking about redlining, what the banks did in the 70s, not allowing African American, black folks, whatever you want to call us, black Americans, they were specifically denied housing or loans for homes to own their own home. They were denied those specifically based on the color of their skin. That's what it was. That is a clear-cut definition of racism. And aside from that, let's throw in the big one here. When you're talking about the 94 crime bill, that was a system of laws put in place that specifically affected a greater majority of a particular race, black folks. A high number of black people, actually the highest number of black people, were actually discriminated against, and they were locked up and jailed because of this particular crime bill and what it did, just like things like locking you up and giving you more time for having crack cocaine as opposed to powder cocaine. Why is that? Because powder cocaine was more so used by rich white people or people that were rich. Crack was a cheaper drug, so it was used by those that had lower incomes, which would be black folks in the hood, in the ghettos. Those were the people that were affected by that. So if I'm locking up blacks who use crack longer than I'm locking up people who are using coke, and it turns out to be majority of those people were black, and the people that use coke, the majority of those people were white, that is racism. Because that system that is in place, those laws that were passed by our wonderful government, it actually affected a group of people based on the color of their skin. It affected them directly. There it is. So let's go into the when was racism. So of course it's a given that pre-civil rights, the pre-civil rights movement, during the civil rights movement, all of that stuff, there was racism definitely in play. Definitely in play. Today, we don't have those same civil rights issues. We have discrimination, but we don't have racism to the degree where it's holding back a group of people. So could you say this one person over here, you could probably point out, you could find an article of a story of somebody who was given this privilege over that person, or that person had privilege over the other person, and you could say that's racist? Yes, you could. But if it is not a group of people that's being affected by this, then what it does show is that racism has decreased. Even though it still exists, it's still around, but it's not to the degree that it once was. So the days of King and the SCLC, NAACP, the NBA, the NFL, and any other 4 or 5 letter group you could come up with. Back then, during the civil rights era, it was absolutely present because it was affecting a group of people, a large group of people. It is not that way in today's world, because at this point in time, when you look at the progress of our people, we have the most millionaires, most billionaires than we've ever had in our lives. We have the most people that are living in higher tax brackets than ever before. The most time that we've had, just as far as just black people doing what we do as far as progressing. There aren't any black folks that's being held back strictly because of the color of their skin. They're just not. There aren't any systems in place that's keeping a black person or black people in a particular group oppressed because of the color of their skin. It's just not happening. But there are still biases and and prejudice which people are using, and they're discriminating against other people because of whatever other reasons. So yes, that still happens. That definitely still happens. But here's the thing to that. You can't untrain a behavior that's chosen. You just can't. People that have chosen to be racist, whether you're talking about the Klans or whether you're talking about the Moors or whoever, people that have chosen to only support, be around, spend their money with, hang out with, go to barbecues with this particular race, it's their choice. You can't change that. And that's one of the problems that we have as people, and as black people, white people, everybody who wants to end racism. You can't end something that is freely chosen. You just can't. But we'll get to that at the end. That was When Was Racism? And that actually went all the way up to, I would probably say, from what I was referring to earlier, that went up into probably like the mid to late 90s. So like 94, 95, 96, you still had those things in effect because of the 94 crime bill, which is one of the biggest ones that was in place during that time. So where is racism? Racism, the majority of it, it's happening here in the US of A. It's also, not the majority, I would say. The majority of it is happening in other countries too, because you have Africa, plenty of racism there. There, other countries around the world, you got your Haiti and things like that, where those people were discriminated against. They were attacked just because of the color of their skin, because of who they were, taken advantage of, having their natural resources taken, having wars and things like that set against them just to wipe out or move out a certain group of people. Even when you talk about us in slavery, it wasn't a bunch of white people going around rounding up black folks on the coast of Africa. No, it was the more well-to-do, the more prominent, the in charge black folks in Africa that were actually selling us to the white people who wanted us for free labor. We were allowed to be enslaved. And then the other thing too, which is something that's not often talked about, that particular slave trade, the whole Trail of Tears, not Trail of Tears, that's for the Indians, but the slave trade, the triangle, essentially, that was only for a short period of time, because once white people had so many slaves over in America, what they did was they started breeding their own. And they literally, as sad and as bad as it sounds, they were breeding us like cattle. If you don't know anything about cattle, you take your best bulls and your best heifers and you breed them together to make better cows. Now, along the way, there may be some genetic defects or whatever, and you weed those out, but you actually do that. Same thing with horses. You breed this good horse and that good horse, you breed them together to make other little better horses. So it was like, that's what happened. So when they talk about the breeding houses over in, I think that's in Baltimore, that was a real thing. That was a real thing. Buck breaking and all that kind of stuff was a real thing. So it was one of those things to where it was a business deal. It was for financial gain. Essentially, that's what it was. And to that particular type of business deal that happened, it affected a group of people for generations, and it still has some effects today. It does. It really does. When you're talking about who is, and I'm gonna just mention this and then I'm gonna move on. But when you're talking about being oversexed, who are some of the most oversexed people? Who do you see on social media all the time, poking this out, poking that out, tongue out? That's us. That's us. So it's like there is some of that has not been addressed, has not been corrected in our group, in our community, in our culture that we need to. So let's move on. Where is racism? So now, why is racism? Why racism? Why is this happening? Why is this a thing? Because it's a social construct, and it's a social construct that provides financial gain and behavioral practices that keeps the general masses, which is the majority of people, your lower class, your upper middle class, upper lower class, all of those except for the super elite rich. It keeps all of us focused and from focusing on the true problem or financial divide in our country, which are the haves and have-nots. If you look at the super, what do they call it? The super elite rich, I believe that's what they call it. When you look at the money gap from that group of people, which is the upper 1% or something like that, or the upper 5%, when you look at that, you can even Google it, and it'll show you that drop off. It's like dropping off of a cliff from that to where you get to upper middle class. There is a huge gap between the haves and the have-nots. And I'm not talking about somebody who makes six figures. I'm talking about the millionaires. I'm talking about the billionaires and the multi-billionaires, the 100 millionaires. Those people, there is a huge gap from that group to where you get down to the six figures, low six figures. There's a huge gap. So this is one of those things. If we're worried about what this person did or what that person did, what this person said or what that person said because of the color of my skin, that's why they said it. If we're arguing about that, we can't argue about saying, well, why do you get all of this money from this particular business or from this particular company and this particular group? Why do you get paid all of this and then these people only get paid that? Why is it that this particular group has this amount of money and this amount of financial gain, and then it drops off to where this group only gets this? Why is it that this group is taxed this particular rate and then this group is taxed a rate that's just a little bit under that group? So when you're talking about those things, now that's a conversation that upper 1% don't want us to have as a collective. The have-nots, the last thing they want us talking about is where's all the money going? Who's spending it? Who's got it? And how come we can't get more of it? That is the last conversation that society wants us to have. So all of these things are put in place to do that. Like you talking about people that are in positions to where they can keep this kind of stuff going. Why wouldn't it be billionaires that are pushing agendas that kind of foster, keep going, further grow and enhance the divide on a racial level? Why wouldn't that be? Why wouldn't that be something that's in existence? Why wouldn't I create, if I'm a billionaire, if I'm the elite rich, why wouldn't I fund or create a system that keeps black people, white people, Hispanic people, Asian people, whoever wants to partake in it? Why wouldn't I keep that thing going? Because it more divides us racially. If I'm mad at everybody that's white and everybody that's white is mad at everybody that's black, then the last thing we thinking about is everybody that's poor and everybody that's rich. And if I'm a really, really, really rich guy or a really, 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 really rich woman, I would absolutely fund that machine, that system that is in place that does that very thing. I'd rather have y'all arguing about y'all color of y'all skin than for y'all to be trying to figure out and talk about my money. Are there any groups that you can think of that kind of like do that? I don't know. Black Lives Matter. But let's go ahead and let's move on to how to stop it. And this is probably my favorite part of this video. How do we stop it? Well, first off, we have to understand that racism is a behavioral choice on both sides. Like I said earlier, we must choose ourselves to either acknowledge it or to partake in it. It's up to us. We have to choose that. We are the ones that choose to get off into that. And if we don't, then what do? We focus on us, what we can control. It's one of the things I learned being a manager in retail. Control your controllables. Can I control how many people walk through the door of a Best Buy? Nope. But I can control how my interaction goes with each person that does. So when we're talking about racism, if you don't even make it a thing, it becomes less of a thing. It becomes less and less of a thing. When you see somebody that does something that's racist and say, let me let that go. I'm gonna let that be what it is because it's not directly affecting me personally and it's not physically hurting somebody. It may make you feel bad. It might make you cry. It might make you angry. That's fine. But you have to stop acknowledging that thing that you want to go away, because if you don't, you're gonna partake in it and you're gonna feed back in it. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to get somebody to choose to unchoose the choice they've made. How successful is that? How successful can you be in that? It is not that I'm being forced to be a racist. I'm choosing to discriminate. I'm choosing to be biased. You can't make me stop choosing the choice that I'm making. So that's why we need to leave that thing where it is, over there. Over there. Just leave it over there. So it's like the other part to that too is if we're not acknowledging it, if it's not physically affecting us, all of the emotion and how we feel, I get your feelings, but sometimes you got to chuck your feelings to the back and move forward in your purpose. So when you're talking about, when we say, well, what do we do after that then? If this person won't give me a job, or this person won't give me this, or won't allow me to do that because I go to their place of business and they do this to me, then let's do this. Get our own. Our own what? Our own everything. If we have our own, no one can choose to be prejudiced against us. No one can choose to be biased against us. And nobody can choose to be racist against us. Get our own everything. And yes, that sounds more like segregation, but it should be some segregation to some degree when you're talking about a group of people that's trying to establish themselves financially and politically. You got to have your own thing to be your own thing. And that's across the board. I'm talking about from your local convenience stores all the way up to your own NFL's league, your own football league, your own basketball league, your own baseball league. Why not get your own? You look at somebody like Ice Cube. He started his own basketball league. How come we ain't watching it? How come we not supporting it? That's the thing. Get your own thing, then that way you don't have to worry about somebody trying to exclude you, hold you back, keep you in this position only. You don't have to worry about that thing. So you're talking about the millionaires and the billionaires that are black, that have this money. How come you're not investing it in your own leagues? How come everybody not trying to go play for Cube as opposed to going to play for the NBA? That's something to think about. That is something to say, well, wow, how come we aren't doing that? Star Joe, you say ain't enough black NFL coaches? Get your own football league. There's no crime against that. We can go to the games. We can go and get the fields. We can go and get the land. Ain't no white person, ain't no system, and ain't no law against that will prohibit you from doing that. With what you can do on the internet, the TV stations won't show the games. Stream them online. I'd watch. I would watch. Who do you get to commentate it? You got all of these veteran football players. Your Prime Times, your Emmitt Smiths, your Richard Dents, your Lovie Smiths, whoever. You get those people that are from that thing, that know that game, to do your coaching, to do your broadcast. You do it that way, and you do it online. Just a thought. So that's what I mean by saying get our own everything. From the smallest thing to those bigger things, get our own. Then you don't have to worry about what somebody else is allowing you to do or not allowing you to do, telling you to do this, telling you to do that. You ain't got to worry about that. It's not even an opportunity for racism to exist in that. Just saying. The other thing, stop expecting a group. Yeah. Stop expecting a group that so many have said before over the years, that have said before that this group don't like us, they hate us, they can't stand us, they jealous of us because we better, we all of this. If this is a group that obviously does not like you, will never accept you, because if they haven't accepted you by now, they never will. Stop expecting it. Stop expecting them to accept you. Stop expecting them to understand you. Stop expecting them to be kind to you. Stop expecting them, here's the big one, to apologize and make amends to you. It's not gonna happen. It's just like this. My favorite team is the Chicago Bears. I love the Bears. Yup, I love the Bears. Been watching it since I was a kid. I got history with the Bears. I watched the Bears with my daddy. Watched the Bears with my brother. Watched the Bears with my cousins. I love the Chicago Bears. There ain't a person on this earth, including Christ himself, whenever he should return, that will get me to root for the Lions. Jesus, I'm sorry, but I just can't root for the Lions. They ruined Barry Sanders' career. Can't you see that, Lord? That's what I'm going to say. I'm sorry, Jesus. They ruined Megatron's career. Can't you see that, Heavenly Father? That's what I'm going to say. You the son of God, Jesus, you all knowing. Can't you see what the Lions organization and what the Fords have done to two of the arguably greatest football players of all time? That's what I'm going to say. That's my point in this. I am not going to ever root for the Detroit Lions. Even though my cousin, shout out to you, Wes, he loved them Lions. I can't do it. I won't do it. I just don't like them. I don't like any of the other Midwest teams. Cleveland, I don't like nobody in Michigan. I don't like nobody in Minnesota. And I lived in Michigan for 7.5 years. I don't like none of them teams up there. None of them professional teams. Nope, I don't like them. The Braves, not the Braves, the Cleveland Cavaliers, don't like them. Can't stand them. The Minnesota Twins, don't like them. I don't like none of them. I don't. Ain't nothing you could do to get me to like any of them. That's just my preference. I choose to do that. No matter what they do for me, I'm going to still prefer the Bears. I'm still going to prefer the Cubs. I'm still going to prefer the Sox. I'm still going to prefer the Bulls. That's a hard one, man, what my Bulls is looking like now. But anyway, that's just my point. Shouldn't a Lions fan ever expect me to like what it is that they have done? They could win the Super Bowl this year and go on a tear for the next 8 years. I would not care because I just don't like them. That's it. It's a preference. Yes, I'm prejudiced against the Lions. I'm biased against the Lions. That's just what it is. And I should have a right to do that because this is America. I don't have to like everybody. I don't have to like everything. I don't have to make everybody feel good. I don't have to care. Long as I'm not physically going to beat up a Lions fan, they shouldn't care either. I should have the right to not like them, and they should have the right to not like me. Just like the Packers. Can't stand them. That's it. Two of the greatest quarterbacks of all time came through Green Bay. Yeah, I'm sorry, 3. I forgot about Bart Starr. Don't like them. Don't. Even though the Minister of Defense went there and got him a ring. Reggie White, salute to you, rest in peace. Love me some Reggie White. Hate them Packers. That's it. That's all I'm saying. All right, now I got last but not least, we need to, two more. We need to make personal responsibility and personal accountability the first 2 stops on the blame train. And the third stop will be Independence Avenue. So what do I mean by that? When we're talking about personal accountability, when we're talking about personal responsibility, those are the first two things that we need to address with any issue. With any issue, whether it's something going on in society, whether it's something going on in our community, something that's going on locally, if it's something going on in our culture, we need to first assume and accept the responsibility and accountability for that thing first. We need to address that part first. What is it that we are doing to contribute to that? What is it that we are not doing to try to prohibit that thing that we want to correct? And that's where that starts. The next thing, the next question, which is why I said the third stop, would be Independence Avenue. How do we get in control of that thing ourselves? How do we have our own? How do we build our own? We have to get back into building and creating our own thing for us, just because that's what everybody else is doing. Stop asking everybody else to come and help us, give us, do for us. No. And I'm not opposed to working with other people, but we should be partnering with others, not asking for handouts for others, not asking for a hand up from others. Build your own thing and do that own thing yourself as best as you can, then partner with somebody else. Whether it's your brother or somebody from another race, it shouldn't matter. But you should be in control and the master of your thing, and you should be the creator of that thing that you want to have. Get into independence. It's okay to be separate. It's okay to have segregation, building your own thing first. That's it. Do you realize that you're talking about just black folks and white folks? Before Microsoft became the great giant that it was, there was a white person and some white people doing it. Are there black people working for Microsoft that are executives for Microsoft? Yeah. But initially, when that thing was first built, what was it? It was a white guy's dream. It was a couple of white guys' dreams. Same thing with Apple. That was their thing that they built. We should do the same. Last but not least, I would say this, and we can wrap this up. I'm making good time too. Understand that what it is we ultimately seek, what we ultimately want, which is equality, fairness, and all that good stuff, it starts and it ends with us. It does. No matter if we want to admit it or not, the ability and to create and be the masters of our own destinies, no matter what is in front of us, because it's not going to be a cakewalk. There are going to be obstacles. There are going to be bumps in the roads, ups and downs, highs and lows, peaks and valleys. That's what the journey is all about. So think about that thing. We have to understand that we are the ones that are in control of that. What I choose to build, what I choose to tear down is just that. It's what I choose to do. What I choose to rebuild, what I choose to tear down again, it is my choice. What if I want to tear something down to make it better? My choice. If I want to build something that's been knocked down again, my choice to do that. When you show relentlessness, when you show that you're not going to give up and you're going to use perseverance, shout out to my daughter, when you're going to use perseverance and keep going through and going at that thing that you want and you so desire, part of the journey is the failure. Part of the journey is the letdown. Part of the success. You have to learn how to lose in order to learn how to win. One of the biggest things that I used to do when we coached in Little League Baseball, shout out to them White Sox at Roseland, baby. One of the biggest things we used to always teach our kids is that it's okay to take that loss. It's what you do after you get a loss that matters. You gotta take an L. Yeah, we're gonna prepare you and work hard, and we're gonna practice harder. We're gonna keep practicing harder so that we can play better. But when we get an L, we need to take that loss because that's gonna help us win next time. So people that always talk about, and this is one of the biggest ones that everybody want to bring up. We had Black Wall Street in Oklahoma and they tore it down. So what? Build it again. We should be able to build it bigger and better because we have more people with more money than we've ever had before. That's what you want to do. I saw online maybe about 2 weeks ago where there was a group of black folks that got together and brought like 95 or 97 acres of land in Georgia, I think it was, or Alabama or somewhere. They brought like 97 acres of land, and their dream is to create their own city. I was like, shit, damn straight. I'm not going to sit back and be like, well, how you going to do it? What you going to do? You got to get this infrastructure. You got to get this. You got to get streets and stuff done. It all starts with the land. It may not be done in 2 months. It may take 20 years. But you had a group of people that chose to start something and to start to build that thing that they want to be their own. That's what it's about. You ain't got to worry about no racism when you got 97 acres. It's mine. It's ours. We don't have to worry about those kind of things. So that's pretty much what I put down. That's what I came up with and just thinking about this over the past couple of weeks. And I just wanted to finally get it out. If you guys have any comments, please put them in the description box. In the comment box. Please make sure you click the like, click the share button. And if need be, we can have a live show and have a live conversation about this. Just let me know. I believe I did this show without cussing. I'm trying, y'all. But I just want to say thank you to everybody that supports the show. Shout out to everybody in Soto Nation. Shout out to my brother Tommy Sotomayor and everybody else that just gave your boy some support. Click the like button, click the share button, whatever it is. I appreciate you all. And even the 5 haters that I got, thank you for at least taking the time to click the thumbs down. I love y'all. Keep on doing what you're doing. I hope that this video helps somebody become a better version of themselves. I am Brian Redman. This is the Relationship Rehab, and we just had an awesome conversation about racism. Thank you guys. Have a good night. Peace.